when I say this, our own people get very bothered. Um, and I try to explain why I say this, that we are slaves. I'm slave to this language. I'm slave to the Spanish language. I'm slave to being a foreigner on my own land. I'm limited to a lot of different things. And I say, well, go back where you came from. I am where I came from. And I'm talking about this whole continent. Somebody can draw a line later on. They can take over half of Mexico. They can take over all of Mexico, and then the line is over there. The line for us is at the point where Columbus landed in the Caribbean. That's where the line is of our people. But we're slaves because basically we're serving the interests of the European settlers who came here. They control all the wealth of our continent. They're millionaires with our oil, with our resources, with our farmland, including Mexico and Central America and the rest of this continent. It's controlled by white people. And our people don't know quite how to react to that. Well, we don't have chains. How could we be slaves? We got freedom. We can do anything. Yeah, it's like we got democracy, right? We got the capitalist party, the Republican wing of it, and you got the Democratic wing of it. You got democracy, right? No, we don't have democracy. We have corporate rule and we have elitist rule. We have all of it. It's not a real democracy, but we have the illusion that it is. So is it really democracy? It's not a democracy. Do you really have choices? Yeah, you have the choices they give you. So if you look at democracy as a real democracy, no, it's not. Are we really free? No, we're not really free since we don't have our land. How can we be a free people without our land, without our culture, without our warrior societies to protect us, to defend us, to keep discipline with our communities? It's a very complicated situation that we're in. But then some of our people, they recognize the slavery that we're in, because basically we're perpetually chained to the interests of Europeans forever and ever and ever and ever on this continent. That might be described as hell to a people who will never be free. So into this, what happens, a lot of our people, they want to escape through religion, whether it's the Catholic religion or they become Mormons or they become born again or Jehovah's Witness, whatever they find, in the same way that when the slaves of African descent were on the plantations, what were the things they did to calm them down? Sing, dance, be happy. You'll get pie in the sky when you die. You don't need to be free. You don't even know what it is to be free. You're free now. You're free to work for me. You're free to do as I tell you. You're free, free, free now. And they bought it. And that was one of the things that the abolitionists found really difficult, that a lot of the Africans didn't understand the concept of freedom. Well, who was going to teach them the concept of freedom? And you also have to realize that the Africans didn't free themselves. Africans didn't revolt, and as John Brown was hoping, John Brown was very disappointed because it didn't work out quite that way. It actually took white people to free the Africans. It took people like John Brown really more to free the Africans. It wasn't Douglass. It wasn't Frederick Douglass that freed the Africans. Actually, he's the one who told John Brown, well, good luck at Harper's Ferry. I got other plans. So you have a situation where we live in a terrorized life as slaves to the Europeans who control our lands, controlled our tongues, control our thoughts, control how we view the world, control how we view ourselves. And if that wasn't bad enough, we're also Hispanics or Latinos. You know, Hispanic, Latino. Why not one or the other? But then you could be a Latino in Washington, D.C., and you can be a Latino in Argentina, and you can be a Latino in Spain. What's that all about? And yet, somebody who is a full-blooded Maya, who doesn't speak Spanish, he or she is a Latino or an Hispanic. An African Dominican is an Hispanic Latino. What's going on here? It's colonialism. Keep the colored people down. Watch Spanish language television. You get a real good sense of the reality. What are they doing? It's white people speaking Spanish, and when you see anybody dark, they're either being ridiculed or out and out racism going on. In Mexico, today. And why don't the Mexicans complain? Oh, they do at home. Oh, that's not right. But they don't do anything. Do they do anything in Mexico City? That's where the headquarters is, Televisa and all. You guys are racist. Get these white supremacists out of here. They can't even do it in Mexico or Central America. So if that's what's going on with our hearts, what's going on with our minds, what's going on with our past and our future, with our slavery and our lack of freedom and our lack of choices, doesn't seem to be very much hope for us. We might as well all just kill ourselves, because all we're going to be doing is serving the interests of white people. You can become maybe a millionaire like the guy that owns the Angels, but he's just as ignorant as some poor guy on a corner selling oranges, and just as self-hating. This is like a big nightmare for us that began in 1492. So when it comes to the theology, yeah, it's there. But you really have to study it much the way you have to study every other religion and theology in the world. You can't get it out of Cracker Jack box the way most people want to do this. Oh, yeah, I saw Dances with Wolves. Yeah, I get the religion of the Indians. I saw a movie. I saw a documentary. I got it all figured out. Hey, I went to a sweat lodge. So that's basically, the presentation I wanted to do. I know I went all over the place, all over time through this, and I want to get into discussion, I guess, with some questions so that somebody might have. I don't know if I stopped you. You had a question somewhere along the road?
No, you answered it as you went along. I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Okay. Did anybody else have a point, I guess, because like I said, there was a lot of, or something that I didn't bring up that somebody has a question about?
Olin, I guess briefly,
Mm-hmm.
just like I know when I first started coming to the lecture, you described the way we saw our Creator, basically the way you described it as like the body.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think that was one of the most easiest way to understand the concept of our Creator, and manifested in these four elements that you described.
Yeah, it kind of that there is a universe, and we are a universe to ourselves. When our ancestors talked about the four elements of water, earth, air, and fire being in the universe, obviously there's more than four elements, but four major elements. And we ourselves have the four elements, because aren't we made up mostly of water? And, well, without the air, we're pretty much done for, right? And the earth element, well, that's kind of the flesh and the bone. And where's the fire? Because remember, this comes out nice and warm. What's heating that up? If you've had the misfortune of ever bleeding, the blood does not come out cold. Hopefully, it doesn't come out. And so there are those four elements in us, and this is something that works for people. The other one that I use is because this whole thing about human sacrifice and gods is something that is persistent. And we talk about, you cannot open up a children's book of Aztecs without a visual representation of human sacrifice. But you can go get a children's book on the Greeks, and you will not find even the mention of men having sex with boys, which was a major part of Greek civilization. You don't, of course, showing an illustration of that might prove a little strange. But why is it acceptable to show human sacrifice in a children's book? Because it totally degrades our culture. Because I've asked this, how come you guys don't do that thing? It was in their art, it was part of their society, it was part of their education system. It's there. You can't deny it. Oh, yes, we can. They're in denial about it, and they say the reason why, because it would belittle Greek civilization. Oh, but you leave this, it's okay to belittle anything that's non-white, but if it's something white, you just clean it up a little bit. How about showing a little respect for us? Since human sacrifice, the way it's looked on now, it's not looked at as a positive thing unless you're bombing Iraq or Afghanistan. Then that kind of human sacrifice is totally acceptable, or Hiroshima or Nagasaki. So let's not do that, especially for our kids. I remember talking to some teachers when I did a lecture. They were all teachers, and we talked about this, and they were saying, well, I teach, they're all white kids. If I started talking about all these crimes that their ancestors did, what it would do to their self-esteem, I don't think it's a good thing for them. I said, you're probably right, but why is it a good thing to do the same thing to our kids, where you destroy them with what they learn about who they are? Why is that all right? I'll tell you why it's all right, because we're living in a white supremacist society. We're living in a white supremacist world. And this is the big denial. No, white supremacy is all gone. We got what's his name in the White House, and the thing, it's a small world after all, and we're all going to be happy now. It's not that way at all. There is white supremacy still ruling the world, even if you got a mutt, as he describes himself, in the White House. Things are pretty much the same as before. Nothing's really much changed. So you have, instead of colonialism, you now call it globalization. It's still basically white people controlling media, commerce, money, blah, 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 blah. That's why you have people in China dressing like they're in Paris.